Good afternoon, and we hope to provide you all with a lot of good information so that you can make wise decisions and also maybe explain to your neighbors, family, friends, etc., some of the reasons of why we need the tax increase, how much the tax increase is really going to impact your budget, and hopefully to clear up some things. So we'll get started. So the maintenance and operation tax, which is what we're here to talk about, goes into the general fund. So we did a slide here of, what is the general fund? Where does it come from? So our general fund revenues come from property taxes, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. It also comes from our state funding, our foundation money that we get from the state. SHARS, which is school health and related services, that's what we get to for our special needs children that we provide some medical things for, whether it's personal care, whether it is speech pathology, etc. We do get a reimbursement from the government on that, although they did kind of give us a surprise this year and reduced what we were expecting by about $400,000 that was not expected. So we're still fighting that, but at this time, we're still down that much. And also the administrative fees from grants. And when I'm talking about administrative fees from grants, the last several years, especially since COVID, the districts received a lot of federal money. And for the district, especially, a lot of it comes from my office, my team, is, we process payroll for the federal grants. We process POs. We process financial reports. So we get to charge an administrative fee back to those grants to help pay for staff in my office for providing those services. So that's going down a little bit as well because the amount of the federal grants that we receive is going down, the dollar amount. So what do we use the money on in the general fund? It pays for all instructional services, administration, transportation, maintenance and operations, technology, extracurriculars. It also helps pay for the police force and also debt payments. So you say you've got debt payments here, but later on I'm going to show you that I'm not taxing anything on our debt service. There's two kinds of debt service. The one that you're going to see in a little bit that we're not taxing on, that's your bond payments, etc., from back when 2002, when we had the huge bond and built so many, I think just about every campus got a new building with maybe the exception of Batesville. But we do have some local debt that we pay out of our general fund, which is some maintenance tax notes, some tax warrants, etc. So there is some debt service in the general fund. All right, so this slide here just really is a comparison of our budget from 23-24 to 24-25 by our major revenue source. So when I say major revenue source, I'm talking local, which our local, that is our tax rate. It's gate receipts, that kind of thing. The big blue box, that's what we get from the state, and the very top is a little bit that we get from federal. So you can see that the federal has gone down. A lot of that is the SHARS. Also, our amount from the state has gone down a little bit, and our amount for property tax and local has gone up some. But overall, our budget's down about $400,000 from where we were in 23-24. And so here's how our expenditures are by major object group. So compared to 23-24, our overall budget was about 43.2, and it has gone down to this year to 41.8. So that's a pretty good decrease. But you can also see, and when I say major object groups, these are divided into salary and benefits, which you can see salary and benefits, even though our budget is less, the percentage for salary and benefits went up 2%. It went up from 79% to 81% between the 2 years. And then the next biggest bucket is our contracted service. So you say, contracted service, do you really pay that many people to do other things? What's included in contracted service, the way we're obligated to code, a lot of that is your utilities. You know, we're contracting with the utility company to provide us with electricity, with gas, with garbage. So that's a huge part of that. That's not having consultants come in and do staff development or that kind of thing. I'm saying there's some in there, but that's not the bulk of that. The bulk of that is our electricity, garbage, gas, that type thing. And the others were small enough buckets that I didn't put the dollar amount in because I felt like these were the two largest buckets that needed to be discussed. So basic allotment and inflation. So the basic allotment is what the state gives us per enrolled student. Okay, so that's a little kind of misleading, but we'll talk about it. So in 2019, as part of House Bill 3, they increased the basic allotment to $6,160 per enrolled child. And as of 2022, and this is an actual diagram information from Raise Our Hand Texas, which they are a great advocate for education. If you've ever been on their website, they have great information on there. So I borrowed their slide here and added a few things. And they said at 2022, in order for the dollar, the 6160, to be the same value that it was in 2019, that amount needed to be $7,100. Well, here we are in 2024, and we're still at the same $6,160 per enrolled student. But then to take that a little further is that student has to be in the seat in the classroom 100% of the time for us to get that $6,160. So our enrollment this last year was running about 86%, or not enrollment, I'm sorry, our ADA was running about 86%. So that took that $6,160 down to $5,298. Okay, that's not even including anything for inflation. So when you calculate inflation in, really, we're $1 in 2019 is only worth about 77 cents today. So when you take that in addition to our attendance rate, you know, we're not getting anywhere close to the 6160 that we need with inflation to keep us even.
One really good point to make that Ms. Bindley has been really good about saying whenever she presents before the board meetings and at the board meetings is that regardless of whether our 4,000 kiddos show up every day, we have to have a desk for every single one of them. We have to have a teacher for every single one of them. We have to have books for every single one of them. We have to provide for all the kids like they're there every single day. And so it still costs us the money to operate the schools, regardless of our attendance rate being 86% last year. So we're working really hard at getting kids to school every single day so that we up the amount of money that the state sends to us. We've put in a lot of programs and put in Hazel Health and our in-school clinic that's a no-cost clinic for both our staff and our students this year. So we're trying to do things to bring kids in to make sure that they're well and they're taken care of and to get them here every single day. But if they're not at school, the state doesn't send us the money for them that day either. So, but we still have to pay the teacher, right? We still have to pay the teacher, we still have to pay the secretary, we still have to pay everyone at the school, the counselor, our police officer, everybody still has to get paid. So it's a very difficult predicament that the state has put us in when $1 is only worth 77% of what it was in 2019. They have not increased the amount of money that they give us, and they only give us the amount of money for our attendance rate. So that's how the state of Texas pays us. So, okay, Ms. Bindley.
And also on this, you know, is we end up having summer school, you know, a lot of times for kids to make up credits because they didn't come to school, or maybe they had a really low attendance rate and didn't quite score what they needed to on their exams. So then we're spending additional money getting the kids caught up, letting them get their attendance credits so they can graduate, et cetera. So that's just another cost in addition. All right, so this quick little slide here just talks about the budget that we adopted. So we had the revenues, and we saw these on the graphs a while ago, of about 41.1 in revenues and appropriations 41.8. We still had a deficit budget of a little over 600,000, which again, we're trying real frugally to watch our expenditures and try to make that up. But what this budget has, it already has the dollars in there from the TRE as if it passes. That's part of the adoption process, is you have to adopt the budget with the revenue from the VATRE already included. So if for some reason this does not pass, you would probably add about another $1.9 million to that, and we would have a huge deficit budget, okay? So, and then kind of the deficit budget and its impacts on fund balance. Fund balance is kind of what you would call your savings. You know, maybe you've got a savings account over here, and, you know, when some months when your revenue is not as much as your expenditures, you go to fund balance and you get a little bit. Or vice versa, revenue is more in expenditures, so I'm going to put a little over there in my savings. So basically, that's what a fund balance is to a school district. So at the beginning of the 23-24 school year, we had about 6.6 in fund balance. I'm still estimating to finish out the school year that just ended August 31st. Still think we're going to be under 2 million, but I'm just going to leave it flat, 2 million at the time. So that's going to get us to fund balance of about 4.6. And with the deficit budget that we're proposing for 24-25, that's about 600,000. So potentially at the end of this school year, even with the VATRE, we are going to be at about 4 million, maybe $4.5 million in fund balance. That's not a lot to operate on, okay? Our TEA, tells us we should have about at least 3 months operating expenses in fund balance, and that would take us to about $10 million. So we have a hill to climb. We don't think we're going to climb the hill overnight. It's going to be a slow and steady process, but passing the VATRE or the VATRE certainly would help us on our way to that. So tax rate trend. So I started with 1920 with what the total district tax rate, that's going to be the M&O, which is the blue, and the black line is the debt service or interest and sinking. They're synonymous, for a total tax rate of $1.22. So 1920, the total tax rate was $1.22. Also in 2019 with House Bill 3 is they started compressing the tax rates. So you'll see from that time period on that the tax rate has gone down. And so we're proposing for the 24 tax rate of a 0.7869, and that's overall tax rate. So that from 1920 to 23-24, that's nearly a 36% decrease in what tax we have, the taxpayers have had to pay. That's a huge decrease, and I mean that's due to House Bill 3 and tax compression. So it's nearly a 44-cent per $100 valuation decrease in the overall tax. All right, so, it's been reported on social media and et cetera that this is going to be a 10 to 11% tax increase. Yes, on the M&O side, it is going to be a 10 to 11% tax increase. And by the tax code, I'm required to present the tax that way. I don't get to say, okay, M&O is going to be, a 10 to 11%, which M&O is for your maintenance and operations tax rate. That it's going to be a 10 to 11%, but I'm going to give you back 6 3/4 on the interest and sinking or debt service. I don't get to say that. It's not the way the law is written. But, we want to clarify what the overall tax rate increase is going to be. So this is an example of a homeowner, and you can go out to the appraisal district's website and look up your property, and you can look to see what it'll be for 2024. Then there's a little thing up there, you can change it to another year to 2023. And you can go look to see exactly what this VATRE is going to cost you for your particular home. It's already out there. So this is, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, while it is an increase on the M&O side of 10 to 11%, it's 100% decrease on the INS side. Nobody's saying that. It's zero. It's going from something 6 or 7 pennies on one side to 0 pennies. So it's 100% decrease on the INS side. That's important.
Yes. All right, so on this, and I apologize, it's a little hard to read, but this one has a market value. We'll do the top one for the 24 taxes first. And market value of the house is $114,000. The taxable value is $4,700. And so the estimated tax for 24 is $37.04. I think they probably had an additional exemption in addition to the $100,000 exemption, which passed last year. And for 23, they had a market value of $117,000 and a taxable value for the school district of $17,000. So last year they paid $135 for school district taxes, and this year they're going to pay $37. So that's a decrease of $98 annually. It's not a per month, it's an annual cost. All these will be annual. But you also have to see that the value of the home also decreased. So this one's an example of a taxpayer that is over the age of 65. And so you'll see there's an extra column here that's got numbers in it, which is the free ceiling. So the very top one for 2024, the taxable value is $184,000. The market value is $184,000. The taxable value is $38,000. So the estimated tax would be $301. But since this taxpayer is over age 65, they're going to be taxed for UCISD of $63. For 23, they had a market value of $176,000 with a taxable value of $24,000, estimated tax of $193, but being over 65, they paid $66 in tax to UCISD. So they're actually seeing a $3.08 annual decrease on their taxes. All right, so this is an example of a rental property. So you're going to see that there is an overall increase of the taxes of about $152, and again, that's annual. But also look that the value of the home or the rental property went up 12%. And rental property, you do not get the $100,000 homestead exemption. The homestead exemption is it has to be your home. So, yes, this one is a tax increase, but when you look at and compare the the 12% value increase, again, it's a little over, maybe $13 a month would be the monthly increase to get to the $151, $152. All right, so we kind of talked a little bit about this a little bit early on, but why 11%? But less than a penny increase. So again, we talked about the tax code requires mandatory language that does not allow us to combine the two tax rates when proposing the overall tax rate to voters. Even though there's a 100% reduction in the debt service tax rate, the district must declare an 11% tax increase to the M&O tax rate. So again, the overall tax rate increase, if the VATRE passes, will be 1%. All right, so here it is just more in a schedule type. So you'll see 2023, the total rate was 77.7782. And again, this is per $100 valuation. Okay. And for 2024, 0.7869. And again, the second line there is the INS. So you can see in 23, it was nearly 7 cents per $100 valuation. In 2024, There's big zero there. There's your 100% decrease in your taxes. So overall, the increase is 0.0087 of a penny. Not even a full penny increase to get us $1.9 million. All right, so really this year the budget's set, but when we start budget in January, and if for some reason this should not pass, then this is some areas that we will have to look at to possibly make cuts. So our Slate Creek, which is our 13 little houses out off Leona Road that we use for staff housing, we use it to attract employees to the district. Eventually we want to use it to help fill a pipeline to get teachers here. You know, not everybody is driving down Highway 90 West to come to Uvalde. They're just not. You know, we want to change that. And having the housing is an important step in that, especially to get maybe some young teachers that are just starting out their career. Maybe they need to do their student teaching, so we can get them in here to do their student teaching and hopefully get them to stay with us. You know, you've already got a year invested with them. So that's kind of the vision for Slate Creek, is to use it for to fill the pipeline. You know, we need administrators too. We've got a couple of administrative positions open now, and you know, we're getting some applicants, but I mean, we're not getting tons of applicants. So hopefully Slate Creek would be able to stay in the mix. Community services, our daycare. We're not obligated to provide daycare. Mainly this is for our student parents, and it's a service we want to provide to them, especially because a lot of them do attend Crossroads, which is where the daycare is located. And so it's easy for them to check on their child, etc. They come to school with their child. But again, it could be something that could be on the table if we had to. Last year we paid $450,000 to substitutes. You know, we might have to look at what we do when we need a sub. Do we combine classes? You know, some stuff like that. Just everything is on the table. Transportation. Currently, even if you live a quarter of a mile, and I'm going to pick on Dalton, you live a quarter of a mile from Dalton, the bus will still pick you up and take you to Dalton. Most places you have to live 2 miles, at least 2 miles away from the school that you would attend in order to have bus services. But Uvalde, our board, has been very generous and has provided that. But that might be something that we'll have to change, that if you don't live, you know, within 2 miles of the, further than 2 miles from the school or a hazardous route, then you're going to have to get your child to school. School safety, UCISD PD. This is the portion we pay above and beyond what the state gives us. The state gives us this year $10 per enrolled student, plus $15,000 per campus to have an officer on that campus. That's $140,000. I can't put an officer on every campus for $140,000. I can't put one there for 15. An average officer salary runs, you know, if they've got a little bit of experience, runs about 60 grand with benefits. So this is the difference in what it costs from what TEA gives us. Batesville, current enrollment, 94 students. We spend nearly 1.8 on staff and another about $64,000 on utilities to have Batesville open. Extracurricular, this is another big one. This is about 1.6, and when I'm talking extracurricular, I'm talking football, baseball, band, mariachi, UIL competition, and I don't know if anybody knows it or not, but there's not a line item that TEA sends me to pay for anything extracurricular. They don't send me $35 per student that plays football. They don't send me $35 per student that's in the band. All that comes out of our general fund revenues. That comes from our property taxes, our state money, although it's not allocated to that, we end up using some for those programs. All right, some more strategies: hiring freeze, excluding core and CTE teaching positions, master schedule modifications. Currently, we provide our teachers with a conference period plus a planning period to do PLCs, etc. That's at a cost to the district because you have to have more teachers.
And it's not every teacher, it's core teachers. I will say that. It's
Yeah.
not every single teacher, but a lot of the teachers have the 2 periods a day. One is for professional learning communities, and one is their conference. So.
All right, increase class size. We get a waiver for class size limits. Reduce auxiliary personnel, which auxiliary could be your maintenance, your custodian, your grounds, can be your paraprofessional staff. I mean, there's no law that says we have to have instructional aides in the classroom. That's something the district chooses to do, for one, to help the kids, to help the teachers, and especially with some of the smaller ones. But there is nothing that says you have to have aides in the classroom. All right, and maintaining the hourly staff to a 40-hour work week. No overtime allowed.
I just want to say that you probably saw in the very beginning that our budget this year is decreased from last year. That's because a lot of these strategies we've already deployed. Like, we've already, where we could, through attrition, decreased the number of staff members. No one was fired, no one was laid off. Through attrition, we offered people to move positions in the district based on need, and that's how we kind of just shuffled people around to the highest need areas. But we have to do those things in order to decrease our budget. We tried to do as much as we could. We lost positions at central office that we did not fill. We currently, our director of transportation, he's retiring in December. We are short a staff member, an administrator on the high school campus. He is now filling in for us on the high school campus, and we will only have a coordinator at transportation now. So when he retires, we won't have a director anymore. So we're looking at things like that to combine jobs, to not hire positions, to make sure that we are not being, to make sure that we're being frugal, and to make sure that we're utilizing every person to the fullest that we possibly can. At central office, when a secretary resigns, we have not been filling the positions. Our executive director of HR resigned. We did not fill that position. We have a coordinator of HR currently running that department with mine and Pam's assistance, Ms. Bendelee's assistance. So we're doing things like that to make sure that we're being financially responsible, and to shrink the budget. So we have deployed these things.
And also for this current year is, we also focused on equity as far as between the campuses, to make sure that if I'm a pre-K teacher at Dalton and I'm a pre-K teacher at UDLA and pre-K teacher at Batesville, although Batesville, they've been troopers, we did combine some classes there because they just didn't have enough students to fill the class. But we've made sure that they've had the same opportunities. Not that one campus has twice as much as another. So we did very much focus on equity between the grades.
And campuses. Right.
Yes. All right, so I think in every presentation, I know every one I'm going to do, I'm certainly going to reach out and acknowledge our partners that have come to the table this year. Centegix with our badges, our alert badges, Hazel Health, which is mental and medical care for any of our children. Texas Health and Human Services, they have come to the table with dental services for some of our elementary kids. You'll be seeing that starting up soon, where they're going to be looking at our kids' dental needs and provide support. Motivate Our Students organization with Texas. They've been awesome in providing the trips to SeaWorld and to Ox Ranch, and they've got some great opportunities. I think maybe the next one is going to be going to Laughlin Air Force Base in Del Rio, so we certainly want to shout out to them. And of course, Save the Children that started being our partner last spring. Community Health Department, Ms. Colas talked about them and having the clinic on the Crossroads campus for staff and students. And Moat Casey, they help us out tremendously from doing, helping me with finances, as well as doing some evaluation of programs. And the Texas Strategic Leadership has come to us to help us and the board to develop our board goals and some leadership. They'll be with us for 2 years. So we're really appreciative of everybody that has come to our aid this year.
At no cost. The Centegics, we used a portion of a grant. Motivate Our Students Texas hasn't cost us a dime. Hazel Health hasn't cost us a dime. CHDI, other than it lives in our facilities, so they use our air conditioning and our lights for a no-cost clinic for our staff and our students. It's a pretty doggone good deal, because other than using our space and our utilities, it doesn't cost us a dime. Save the Children, we have a receiving center, and they fund additional tutors for our students. Doesn't cost us a dime, other than we do allow them the space to have a receiving site to give our community that needs possibly food, possibly clothing, different things that our community may need, books, things like that they give away. We do give them space. And then Strategic Leadership is also through a grant. Moat Casey has been amazing to us. They charged us $1. So all of these partnerships haven't cost us any local money. So everything that we've done since I've gotten here, for the most part, has been through partnerships and through grants, everything. Also, not up there, SlideSoft. The huge audits that we did with 60 people from across the county, the city, the nation, the state, and the nation. Everybody came in, and SlideSoft is giving us their software and their app for free, and all of that safety work. We did have to pay for some travel to get some people here, the experts here, but the Region 4 team did it at no cost, and the SlideSoft app that we got, the owners are giving it to us indefinitely to use, and that's our behavior threat assessment tool, and that's our safety audit tool, and they're creating an app for us that's our door locking tool, to where I will get an email if a teacher puts in that their door isn't locking appropriately, so that I know and I can be on it with maintenance and Mr. De La Fuente to be getting on it so that it's fixed quickly. So we have amazing partners that are in it with us, that believe in the Uvalde community and are investing in the Uvalde community. So we're asking taxpayers and our voters to approve 0.8 of a penny that'll get us that 1.9 million, so that we can continue to do all the things. We do not want to have to go to the board in the spring and say, here are all the extra things, because they're not really extra things. Those aren't really extra things, but those are, when it comes to a school district, teaching and learning, that's the main thing. So really, the extra things would be anything other than teaching and learning. So that's what we're asking for. You want to